The transit hall of Aurelian Station was designed to intimidate. That, Elias more suspected, was the point. The ceiling arched hundreds of meters overhead, ribbed with glowing crystal veins that pulsed faintly, like a living organism. Alien banners, each bearing the sigils of different species and empires, hung in layered rows, some pristine, others ancient and cracked with age. The air hummed with layered languages, pheromones, electromagnetic pulses, and scents Elias didn't have names for. Every seat in the central waiting ring was occupied. Every seat except one. Elias noticed at the moment he entered. A lone figure sat there, shoulders drawn inward, long hands folded carefully in her lap. The beings around her had formed a perfect empty circle, close enough to watch, far enough to avoid contact. Their gazes slid past her as though she were a stain on the floor rather than a person. Elias followed their line of sight. She was Talaran. Not just her species, but her caste. Her skin was a pale, almost translucent blue, faintly luminescent beneath the station lights. Filigreed markings traced her temples and down her neck, symbols Elias recognized from his briefing packets. Resonant-born. A subspecies believed to be unstable. Dangerous. Cursed. Elias adjusted the strap of his travel pack and felt the familiar weight of being human in alien space. Humans weren't powerful here. They weren't feared. They weren't revered. But they were known for one thing. They noticed things others preferred to ignore. He hesitated. Every instinct screamed that this was none of his business. He was just a civilian contractor, hired to help calibrate communication arrays on a frontier relay. Sit down, keep your head low, finish the job, go home. That was the smart choice. The safe choice. Then the announcement chimed overhead, translating itself into dozens of languages at once. Delegates bound for the outer Concord routes will experience a delay of approximately 47 cycles. Please remain seated. A collective groan rippled through the hall. Elias exhaled, squared his shoulders, and walked toward the empty seat. The reaction was immediate. Several beings stiffened. A reptilian merchant hissed under his breath. A crystalline life form flickered its light pattern erratically. Alarm, perhaps. One of the station attendants took a step forward, then stopped, uncertain. Elias didn't break stride. When he reached the seat, the Talaran woman finally looked up. Her eyes were enormous, faceted like polished glass, glowing faintly silver. Surprise rippled through her posture. Not fear, not hostility, just disbelief. Is that seat taken? Elias asked, keeping his voice easy. For a moment, she didn't respond. Then she shook her head slowly. No, she said. Her voice was soft, musical, and threaded with a faint harmonic undertone that made the air vibrate. It never is. Elias sat down. The silence that followed was profound. It felt like the station itself had paused to watch. Up close, Elias could see the signs of long isolation etched into her body language. The careful stillness. The way she kept her movements contained, as though afraid of disturbing the air around her. I'm Elias, he said after a moment. Human. I know what humans are, she replied. You are not known for avoiding things. He smiled faintly. That a compliment? Her lips curved just barely. Sometimes. Minutes passed. Then more. The delay stretched on, but something else shifted too. The empty circle around them didn't close, but it stopped growing. A few onlookers returned to their conversations, curiosity giving way to confusion. Finally, she spoke again. You should not sit here. I'm comfortable. They will mark you, she said. Association carries consequence. Elias leaned back. I've been marked worse for less. That earned a quiet sound from her, not quite laughter, but close. My name is Silari, she said. of the Talaran resonant line. He nodded. Why are they afraid of you? Her hands tightened in her lap. We are different, she said carefully. We hear what others cannot. We resonate with the neural fields of other species. Long ago, some of us caused harm without meaning to. Empires remembered the harm, but forgot the context. So now you're all blamed. Yes. The bitterness in that single word was devastating. They say we disrupt thought, she continued. That proximity to us leads to instability, madness, emotional collapse. Elias studied her. Do I look mad? She hesitated. No. Then maybe they're wrong. Her gaze lingered on him, searching. You're not affected? She asked. I feel something, he admitted. Like standing near a speaker with the bass turned up. But it's not unpleasant. Her breath caught. That has never been said to me before. The delay stretched into hours. Other delegates came and went, but Elias stayed. They talked about human music, about Talaran star songs, about how loneliness felt the same no matter how many limbs or senses you had. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, Silari's posture changed. She leaned closer. Her voice grew steadier. The harmonic undertone softened, resonating in gentler patterns. And others noticed. A young avian scholar paused nearby, tilting her head. A molluscoid engineer inched closer, sensors twitching. Nothing bad happened. No madness. No collapse. Just conversation. Finally, a station official approached, tall, armored, bristling with authority. Human, it said sharply. Your proximity is violating advisory protocols. Elias looked up calmly. Show me the law. The official hesitated. There is no formal statute. Then we're good. A murmur spread through the hall. Silari rose slowly to her feet, trembling, but standing taller than Elias had seen her yet. They fear us because they never listened, she said, her voice carrying farther now. You listened. Something in her resonance shifted, not louder, but clearer. A harmony that didn't invade minds but invited them. The air felt warmer, calmer. The official stepped back. Others sat down one by one on the once empty seats nearby. The circle broke. Hours later, as boarding finally began, Silari turned to Elias. I will be returning to my people, she said, to tell them the silence may be ending. He smiled. Tell them humans make good listeners. She reached out, hesitated, then gently touched his forearm. The resonance between them bloomed, warm and steady. They treated me like an outcast, she said softly, until one man sat beside me. Elias shrugged. Seemed like the right seat. As they parted ways, the station felt different. Not quieter, just more human. And across Varelian Station, the story began to spread. Not of fear, not of danger, but of the moment everything changed because someone chose not to stand when everyone else walked away. Years later, historians would struggle to agree on when the perception of the Talaran truly changed. Some would cite treaties. Others would point to neurological studies proving the resonant-born were not a threat. A few would argue it began when Talaran diplomats were finally allowed seats at the Concord tables. But among common spacers, traders, and travelers, the truth was simpler. It began with a story. A human contractor, nameless in the early retellings, who ignored the warnings, who crossed an empty space no one else dared to cross, who sat down not to challenge an empire, not to make a speech, but simply because no one should sit alone like that. Silari returned to her people and became a voice they had long been taught to silence. Her resonance, once feared, was studied and understood. Under her guidance, the Talaran learned how to tune themselves, not to dominate minds, but to soothe them, to heal trauma, to stabilize fractured neural patterns in species once thought beyond help. Human colonies were the first to open their doors. They always were. Elias Moore never sought recognition. He finished his contract, went home, and lived an ordinary life. But sometimes, when he traveled, he would notice someone hesitating before choosing a seat, then sitting beside a being others avoided. And he would smile, because the galaxy had not changed due to power or fear. It had changed because one man reminded it of something ancient and universal. That dignity is not granted by crowds. That worth is not decided by distance. And that sometimes the bravest act in the universe is simply sitting down and staying.